I've lived in Marin County for almost 30 years. And how many residents look like me? Lower than you think. But I made a choice to live there. What about my kids? What about other kids of color in that environment growing up there? There are issues of identity, insecurity, isolation.
For the Marin Council of Chambers, I'm Stephanie Plant, and this is We Are One Marin. You just heard strong words from KPIX-TV sports broadcaster Vern Glenn from a recent story he did about the Play Marin program and its creator, Paul Austin. We talked to Paul a few episodes ago about the success he has had teaching life lessons to kids of all colors through sports. Back to Vern. You may know him from his current 11-year run at KPIX, or previously as Mr. Involvement during his 22 years at KRON. Vern started his career at a TV station near his hometown of Richmond, Virginia. And after 38 years in broadcasting, most of them while living in Marin and raising a family here, we wanted to ask him what it's like to be a public figure, a role model, and a black man in this county that is 85% white. Join us as Kalina and I continue our look at how Marin works.
Right.
It is nice to see you.
Just terrific.
My friend. You said in your introduction to the Play Marin piece that you chose to live here.
Yes, I did.
I did too. Well, actually, I was born here, but...
You were born here. Yeah, come on.
Can you tell me something about Marin that you didn't anticipate when you moved here?
I didn't know how quiet it was when I moved here. Being a kind of a city guy, I was used to the sound of the BFI trash truck, refuse truck backing up and emptying out, people walking like by my building, conversations,
busy
stuff
streets.
Yeah. So I was used to that instead of crickets, frogs, critters, whatever, kind of rolling on by. So that took a little getting used to. It's almost like this is for the older demographic, Green Acres. Ava Gabor, she moves to the country with A. Arnold, and it's just all. It's like, what is this?
Kalina's looking at you like, what are you talking about?
It was a really popular TV show in the '60s and '70s, and it was a woman who was used to a Fifth Avenue lavish lifestyle, and she gets married to a guy from Kansas, Middle America, and they move out there, and so she's got to get used to. Cow patties and stuff like that. Yeah, exactly.
Green Acres is the place for me.
That's right. Farm living.
Okay,
Yep.
I'm going to no, I'm not singing. Did you know the demographic when you moved to Marin?
I did not. Now, here's a little something you need to know about the Glenns. We, as a family, my dad, my mom, my sister, we're used to a series of firsts. Like my dad was the first black executive at a higher level at Reynolds Aluminum Company. My dad was the first, manager of a plant location that Reynolds would have in Alabama, and we were the first African Americans in this particular neighborhood that we chose to live in. So we've been surrounded by the Salt Lake City Airport. Pigmentation, the color of the notepad on Miss Cloud that she's making notes. So we were kind of used to that, and we just kind of learned to live with that and stay in our lane. Yeah, but we chose to take opportunities to branch outside of the lane when the need warranted. So none of this was unbelievably like it wasn't a culture shock for me to move to San Francisco, to live in Pacific Heights, where there weren't a whole lot of people that around that looked like me. Now there was in the '60s and '70s, but that's for another show. But
right.
So moving to Marin, which is 85% white, was nothing new for me. But that's kind of what I grew up around. But safe to say that, like in my intro, the offspring are kids of color, and other kids of color in Marin County. They didn't choose to live here; they were born here.
Yeah,
and so they're born and they play with each other, people that look like them, and then they go outside to play, and there's no kids in the street that look like them. And well, how are you going to handle that? You're either going to be an introvert and just kind of stay kind of cooped up in your own little kind of racial bubble, which is small to begin with, or you acclimate. And there are those great families in this county that choose to acclimate but have their kids exposed to how life really is in the real world, because we do in Marin live in a cultural bubble.
Yes. Well, and
I can't believe I said that. That sounded kind of semi-intelligent.
Eloquently.
Wow.
Well,
okay.
and Paul Austin's program Play Marin has provided that avenue for a lot of families, as you said. And we interviewed him also. He talks very openly about families from other parts of the county. It's not just Play Marin's not just for Marin City kids.
Right.
A lot of white families bringing kids down there so they can
I have met some of those families.
Have a better rainbow of exposure to color.
Now, because I'm sensitive to the listenership out there, maybe they're raking leaves or they're paying bills, whatever.
Walking dogs.
And they're listening to We Are One Marin for the first time, and they're like, hold on here. Now, just wait a cotton pick a minute. Who is Paul Austin? Paul Austin is a 47-year-old, third-generation Marin City resident whose grandparents worked in the shipyards of Sausalito. Yes, kids, Sausalito was filled with shipyards, and they built 93 warships and tankers for the World War II conflict in the Pacific. And it was open from 1942 to 1945. When the war ended, that was the end of that company. But that company built Marin City. It was originally for 3,000 to 5,000 workers that could easily go from Marin City to the shipyards and back and forth. And when the war ended and the company ended, this is mid-1940s now, and for as liberal as we are in Marin County, those white residents, those white workers could freely move to any county, any city in Marin County. Could come on in, they could have a real estate agent with shake. But for black folks looking to get out, it's God, jeez, I can't rent to him. God, have you seen him? Gosh, yeah. It just they could not have those kind of opportunities, so they stayed and made a staunch community out of it. And so Paul Austin, seeing the need for kids of color to learn life's lessons, play sports, he created Play Marin just a little over a decade ago for that. And there were other folks who moved to Marin County from other areas that wanted their kids exposed to other kids of color and get a taste of what the real world is. And Play Marin has prospered. Now, there were bumps along the road. There were growing pains.
Absolutely.
There were kids, because usually in athletics, particularly like CYO, it again, white voice. Wait a cotton pick a minute here. Why is this family coming from San Anselmo down to Marin County? Wait, that's not fair. They need to be playing this. Not knowing that those families wanted their kids in an environment where they felt comfortable. And especially in times when the early stages of Play Marin, where they didn't have enough to field like a team for basketball or volleyball or whatever. And so that's kind of where we're at.
And he grew it. He grew it quite. I mean, from one team to however many they have now.
He grew it. My kids came up through the Play Marin program. Two of my three boys, and one of them, Jake, worked for Paul Austin last summer as an ambassador for the Junior Giants program. And so,
that's great.
And so he worked with Paul to kind of get kids exposed to the great game of baseball.
That's excellent. So that's one way, raising your children in this white affluent bubble, that you can expose them and provide them with a view in the mirror that is more familiar. What other ways have you and Nicole decided? Nicole is Vern's wife, who I know. What other ways have you decided to expose them, to mitigate the whiteness?
Communication is key, and we talk to them all the time. They attended schools, mostly white. They were I mean, you're not going to believe this, you listeners out there. I mean, sometimes you gotta really look to find somebody else of color at that school. I mean, you got to really look at, okay, there's one over there, and it was like that. But there was an acceptance of my kids because they were athletic, and usually in the game of street cred, if you're athletic, then you're going to get a pass. You're going to get and as families and kids get to know their kids, whatever. It's just easier. But communication is key. We always talk to our kids, especially leaving this bubble and going off to college. And I think we prepared them very well for it.
Do they give you feedback now? I mean, of what they've seen since they've left Marin? Or I know we have one out of college,
We got
and
one
two
out of
in.
college. We got one at USC, and we got one at Cal Poly SLO. That's San Luis Obispo. And the one at USC being right up against Watts in South Central LA. How about that?
Yeah.
Bet you never had somebody on this show that's referenced South Central LA.
No, not late. No.
So he's very experienced. He's very adept at having strong communication skills of his own. So he's all everybody's all good. We have not had a Mom, Dad, I got to talk to you. I don't feel we haven't had that
Good. Right.
yet.
Right.
And I don't anticipate that now that they're 18, 22, and almost 24. I don't anticipate that happening. So we're lucky in that regard. But not everybody is like that.
No.
And I'm in the communication business, so it's easier for me to meet total strangers. I don't care whether they're green, blue, whatever, and somehow we're going to find some kinship everywhere, anywhere.
And that's
sometime.
that's in your personality.
That's me.
And speaking of your personality, you, in your time at KRON, I think we talked about this before, Gary Radnich, who very well-known Bay Area sportscaster.
He was.
Retired.
He was the dominant sports voice, and he and I were together for 23 years. I referenced in a show that people have never heard that we were the Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr. of the sports market. We were peanut butter and jelly. We really were.
And he gave you a nickname, Mr. Involvement.
Mr. Involvement. In the old days of television, kids out there, you had to have some sort of niche or some sort of not gimmick, but something that separated yourself from all the other sports talking heads that just get out there and just read 5-4, 3-2.
Yeah.
You had to do something that was different. And me coming up in my career, I always wanted to see what certain sports were like. And just being the regular couch potato schmo that would put the beer down and get out there and get on a mound to see 66 feet, that's a long way to home plate.
That is a long way.
Yeah, so to learn how to do that, to play running back for a college football team at Cal, Berkeley. And so I got out there and I did this, and every time I came back and presented my piece, Gary would say, well, the involved one is back. He's Mr. Involvement. And that just kind of stuck. Because in those days, cable was still in its diapers. We weren't in the digital age, so to be able to get your information, you had to watch television. There was no other option. And we had a high viewership, and Gary being the dominant voice, everybody wanted to see what he had to say, show, present, whatever. So my thanks to Gary for kind of slingshotting my presence in this market.
That's nice. That's really nice. And we would be remiss if I think we didn't tell people that Vern and I used to work together.
Yes.
Also at the same station. I was the traffic reporter.
Back when she was just then Stephanie Kirby.
I was.
Before marriage, before kids.
And Gary, in fact, for a while, as the cable, right before KRON was sold, I think, when the cable arm was waning, Bay TV,
Yep.
they were simulcasting Gary's radio program on Bay TV in the morning, and they had a contractual problem, and they couldn't air commercials or the news cut-ins, and so who came on the TV to do the little news traffic weather wheel?
Stephanie
It was
Kirby,
me.
and these are the headlines.
And
Yeah.
I was young enough that I thought I could handle a job where I was on the air from 6 to 9 in the morning and then again in 3 to 6 in the afternoon. And I did not last long,
Yeah.
Vern. I did not last
It's a
long with
grind.
that schedule.
Hey, this business is a grind. This podcast is a grind. I mean, to kind of get together and get the equipment and get it going, got to turn it around.
So what have you
Everything
seen?
recorded on an SD card. Yeah,
Red lights on.
it's a great line. Yeah.
Red light check.
Sometimes we have technical difficulties in the broadcasting business, and we may have experienced a few, and Vern is very generous with his time. So
How many times in your TV career did you have somebody come up and go, "Hey, don't you just tape all this stuff and go home?"
yeah, well, yes, and you have been in the Bay Area market long enough that you were in the business when television was at its heyday, right?
Yeah.
It was the only way to get your news,
Yep.
so you had a huge fat crew, and you got to go out and be the talent.
Yeah, when I first started, I had my own cameraman and I had my own sound man, and I thought, boy, this is the big time. I mean, I thought I was the man when I got there.
And the man is one man now, right?
One man band. One
So-
man band. I got gear in the car. Yeah, just for you guys that
Describe
are just
that,
thinking
please.
of when you're thinking about entering local television, you better have the skill set to be able to shoot, write, edit, produce, and turn things around and front it. When I say front it, go on the air and present this piece like I did with the Paul Austin piece. Yeah. So yeah, you better have that, and if you don't, hey, nice knowing you.
Well, and nobody's booking your interviews either.
No, you got to go. You have to do it all yourself.
That's a lot. That's a lot of work.
And a lot of times that's outside of your normal 8-hour work day. I can't remember the last time I had an 8-hour work day.
Well, and you've taken your nickname, Mr. Involvement, I think truly to heart, because I've also come to know you in a very community-minded capacity when our kids used to swim together and we would announce those swim meets together. And
The 50 freestyle.
well,
one.
Yeah, except when you had all the 8-year-olds and they swim one lap in like 15 seconds and we had
Yeah.
to spit out 10 or 12 names in 15 seconds.
Exactly. Meanwhile, you got some parents, kind of kick back. They got their magazine, newspaper. They don't care.
They miss it.
Oh,
You
did
look
I
up and
miss
you-
it?
Oops.
Good job, Billy.
Did my kid win? But Vern has always been a professional, and he taught me so much back then because he would email usually, the coaches for the other teams. And again, this is community swimming, not college swimming.
Right.
And ask for the phonetic pronunciations of all the swimmers' last names. And I mean, to be fair, teams could have 200 kids on them.
Sure.
And I'm talking phonetics, parentheses, hyphens, sound it out so we don't get it wrong.
I had to get it right. I was a stickler for that. Because we have to do it on television all the time, whether it's like a World Cup soccer game or whatever. I mean, these
But that's
these,
one or
these
two
3-4
names.
syllable words that names that you have to get out. I just wanted to be able to get it right because these are these kids' moment in the sun. They may not even last the rec league, but in that one race, if they have a really long last name, I want to be able to get it right so everybody can hear and stand and recognize.
Well, you taught me a lot about that because I continued that job after you abandoned me.
I did everything in those days. I was the meet announcer. I was the grill master. I timed.
Well, and then you produced those beautiful pieces about the whatever happened at the
in
meets.
the deep end with Coach Marin.
mean, you didn't have to do that.
Marin
that was beautiful.
Ziraparfar was the head coach of the Strawberry
Speaking
Seals.
of phonetic pronunciation meeting.
Yeah. A lot of people can't get it out, so they just say, "Hey, Marin."
Yeah, I mean,
Last name? Well, I don't know. I just call him Marin.
talk about life lessons too. I mean, Coach Murad, shout out to Coach Murad.
Now a father. How about that?
Oh wait, I didn't know that they had a
Yeah.
baby.
Yes.
Oh, that's exciting. That's really
Got a
exciting.
little girl. Yep.
Okay, we digress. Back to Mr. Involvement and your level of involvement, sort of from broadcasting and sports to community activities. How do you stay involved then as a...
You see what a good job she does? I go off the rails, and then she redirects me right back to topic.
She's hurting you.
I love it, yeah.
How do you stay involved as a role model and a black man in this county that is predominantly white?
I do a lot of banquets. I do a lot of career days. I do a lot of kind of personal appearances where I just sit there and I talk about the biz and just try to sell this job, which is a grind, to those of that they're out there kind of thinking about it. I don't know if it's really answering your question, but I always try to put myself out there, be accessible, and for anybody of any age that wants to kind of know what's going on with respect to what I do. As far as dealing with race, I'm just desensitized to it now. I mean, I don't even think about it when I'm out there now.
Have you seen, I would imagine the industry's less white than it was when you started.
Oh, well, that's a whole that's a whole another topic right there. Color in my business at the management level.
Oh, well.
We don't have one at Channel 5. I don't know about the other stations, but all the decision makers at Channel 5 are white.
Do you have any women?
Well, our news director's a woman.
All right.
Lisa White, yeah, she's a woman. Yeah, no problem there.
That's good.
But as far as
that's a step.
Yeah, it is a step. But as far as color in the management level, it really is an issue.
Yes.
We have to. When I say we, I serve on the board for this region's chapter for the NATAS, the National Association of Television and Radio Artists, and we have to rework a document that was written up by board members in Kentucky and Georgia that wanted to come up with some kind of a quota system for something, and the verbiage is like you think. We're thinking living in the 60s and 70s. Well, we have to have 2 black and 1 woman, and it's just we have to rework that to make it more PC. But color in our business, it really is an issue. I mean, you can even go right up the CBS corporate flag, and there's hardly any color at all.
Well, something that strikes me as you're talking, kind of bringing 2 topics together, your community involvement and this one-man band concept of a contemporary broadcaster, is you get to select stories and highlight somebody like Paul Austin. And that in and of itself does a huge service to, any business you choose to highlight or any program.
But the PS to it is, back in September, we, KPIX, we gathered and talked about, what are we going to do for February? That's Black History Month. Who's got ideas on things we could do? And I was just like...
right here.
We're going to do Paul Austin, play Marin. Now, originally they were, because the folks that were kind of organizing this, all white.
I was going to say, the white managers...
Yeah. Why don't we have Vern just do the history of African Americans and helping build these stadiums in the Bay Area? I'm like, no,
wow,
no, we're not gonna do that. That's all they could think of because they don't know.
Right, there's not the connection.
They're not from the market. They didn't grow up here, and so the ideas they had were not deep rooted in the community.
Well, and that's evident of something that I've learned working here with Stephanie is in our day job is, I just graduated school. I've been in higher education for the last decade. So this is really my first real world experience. And, I never really understood board positions or those community service positions. And you realize that unless you have people of color, of minorities, women in those rooms,
how could you ever know?
Those perspectives will never be heard if they're not included and incorporated in those rooms. And similarly like that, your station would have never found Play Marin, and your audience may have never found Play Marin without you sitting there.
And because we're in television and we deal with TRT, total running time of stories we were given kind of a mandate of, okay, make your piece 3 minutes.
Wow.
Well, I couldn't really do the whole Play Marin story without referencing the history of Marin City. So the piece that I came up with was almost 6 minutes long. and they're like, well, no, we're gonna have to cut it down. We have to. Yeah. So the piece that originally aired was 3 minutes and 9 seconds. Okay, but cut out was the day-to-day rigors of Paul Austin, what he has to go through, the history of Marin. What is Marin City? Where did it come from? Why is there a heavy concentration of people of color in that community? So it was kind of the nickel version, the Cliff Notes version of what the broad picture was. So I made it a point to go to our web guys, going, look, the piece that you post on our website, it has to be the long piece.
Absolutely.
So that's what people see when they look it up, and it's also the piece that I posted on all my social media platforms. It's the piece that you have.
Yes.
And because it really kind of gives you the whole picture. And the feedback I was getting is, well, I didn't know Sausalito was all that. I didn't know what shipping. They didn't know anything about that. About how this was a man-made, company-created community. They didn't know that.
Right.
Which falls under the nobody cares how the sausage is made. Kind of
Well,
thing.
that's the lived experience, I think, Kalina, you're alluding to, right? It's the management in the room. I mean, the person is from, the manager's not even from this market,
Right.
let alone has a skin color that's anything but
No.
white. You have to get that lived experience in the room. I think you told us that you lived in Marin City for a while, too.
I did. Marin City was my home for almost 5 years. After my second son, Jake, was born, we had an opportunity to get into Mill Valley because Mill Valley had the strong school system.
Yeah.
And I wasn't going to, I mean, it costs an arm and a leg, maybe an eye to live in Marin County to begin with. I'm not going to pay more to send them to private school.
Right.
No, I'm going to pay that tax I pay and send them to public school. And so that's why we really landed in Mill Valley.
Did you find a sense of community, or have you found a sense of community in both? Did you find it in both towns?
I certainly found it in Marin City. If you needed a cup of sugar, you just go next door. You get a cup of sugar. But I have found that Mill Valley, it's spread out, and B, people keep to themselves.
Yeah.
I don't see a whole lot of. I live on a street that ends in a cul-de-sac. I don't see a whole lot of people hanging around, the
too
street
bad.
at the end or shooting baskets or whatever. People keep to themselves, and that's just not my neighborhood over in Strawberry, but it's in a lot of neighborhoods that are all around. And I could be wrong, but I just don't hear of any. Blocked off streets, street party. Hey, we're gonna have this. I don't get. You hear about it in some other.
Maybe we're too old now. Maybe if we had little kids, that would be happening.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. And then that's.
Or if we were just young
little kids
and
are in my rearview mirror.
I'm not attending any block parties. I'm not withholding any
But
invites.
the only time you see like a huge celebration collection of kids in the street is around Halloween.
Yeah.
oh yeah, and then you see a lot then.
Yeah.
I think I would be remiss if I didn't ask the sportscaster a few questions about sports.
Go. In the words of Tom Brady before a game, let's go.
Okay, I would. So let's see. Tell us about maybe one of your recent interviews, one of your most favorite sports figures to interview. I'm not asking you to go back forever, so let's just in the last 6 months.
Last 6 months interview. There's one that's on social media now. It's an interview that I did with Aaron Rodgers, currently the quarterback of the Green Bay Packers, but maybe not for long.
Maybe not for the next 5 minutes.
He's at the end of his deal, and he can sign with another team, and he's rumored to be romanced by other teams. Anyway, I recently covered the Pebble Beach Pro-Am, and which is carried by CBS.
That's golf, Kalina.
Yeah, that would be
you.
golf.
Thank
yeah,
you.
Yeah. It's
You could
where
have held up a sign.
top professionals.
Sorry.
Top professionals are paired up with top athletes and folks from the entertainment world, making it the Pro-Am.
Rodgers won, didn't he?
Rodgers' team won. Yes, Rodgers' team won. So he just finished his round. He was the champion, and now Aaron and I, we have a relationship that's built since his junior year at Cal,
I thought
when he
so.
transferred in, and so I can remember every Wednesday morning that I would get together with Aaron, and sometimes it would just be the two of us, and we would talk about the upcoming game and what life has been like, and his dream of playing in the NFL one day, and he grew up a 49er fan. I mean, we kind of hit it off, and so we've always stayed and had that connection wherever I have seen him as he's advanced to the NFL, and he's won his 4 MVPs. That's most valuable player, kids.
That I knew.
Google that. And
as he fudged his vaccination status.
Yeah, something like that. But people look at his quirkiness and they make judgments, but I know how Aaron really is. And he's, unbelievably enough, he is the same guy.
That's nice to hear.
That he was as a 20-year-old kid in Berkeley. Same guy. He's just flatline as far as his demeanor goes. And wherever I see him, comes right over, gives me the bro hug.
Oh.
Kids, you know what the bro hug is. Anyway, so we've had that, and so he finished his round. He comes right over to me, and we're doing this interview while I'm standing on a step stool because I need that for Aaron. And so with the step stool, folks, I'm 6'3".
Yeah, that's a tall stool, dude. I don't believe you.
A stool that I bought at Home Depot, right next to this.
Excellent.
Yes,
that's right where we're sitting.
Yes.
Oh,
Thank you every
funny.
month for the rent check. Anyway, so anyway.
You're funny.
So Aaron comes over, so we're doing this interview, and right in the middle of the interview, Josh Allen, quarterback of the Buffalo Bills, walks over. So in a sportscaster's mind, you're like, man, I've hit the jackpot.
Right.
I've got Aaron Rodgers already, and then Josh Allen of the Buffalo Bills comes over, my youngest son's favorite player.
Oh.
So they come over, and there's some back and forth between the three of us, mostly between the two of them, just kind of like digging at each other. But that's
great.
That's a piece of video that just.
I
went
bet.
viral. It's on the, I believe it's on the PGA website.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you brought
that
up
was cool.
You brought up 2 quarterbacks, so now I'm going to ask you, who's going to be the starting quarterback for the 49ers next year?
I'm
Let's
going to
just
tell you exactly how.
open up the controversy right
exactly
here.
Exactly how that's going to happen. All right.
Okay.
So as we record this, we're at the tail end of February. The new league, the new season for the league starts in mid-March. They go March to March. It's
Okay.
it's a company thing. So we'll have the NFL draft in late April.
Okay.
49ers do not have a first-round pick because they've kind of mortgaged their future a little bit.
Okay.
And so right after the draft, they have the first voluntary mini camp, and which is early part of May. And
They're all going to be hurt for that, right? All the quarterbacks are hurt.
Well, the mini camp's going to start with Trey Lance as the starter.
Okay.
He will be the only true healthy quarterback, not named Josh Johnson, available.
Okay.
And so he will run the offense. He will continue to run the offense through subsequent mini camps through June, and then in July he'll still take all the snaps with the ones. That's an NFL term. Yet the ones, that means the first stringers.
That's cool.
So exactly. So he'll take all the snaps, and then right when August hits, that's when they project that Brock Purdy would be available to come and practice with the team.
Right at preseason.
He's got this tear in his UCL ligament in the elbow.
Tommy John's surgery,
It's
right?
not Tommy John. It's
Oh,
not
good.
Tommy John would have cost him a year.
Ooh.
So they're going to go in. They're going to fix what's broken. He's going to have 3 months of rehab, and then after 3 months, he'll then begin throwing, doing exercises to build the strength in his elbow, and you'll just go day by day, strengthening that muscle. So by the beginning of August, he'll be able to make all the throws.
Cool. Okay. You didn't answer my question. Who's going to be the starter?
When the regular season opens, who's going
I
to be
don't
the
care
starter?
who's the starter at practice.
I told you, Trey Lance is the starter.
Okay.
Right now.
All right.
He will be the starter. Lance will be the one, handing the ball off to Christian McCaffrey. Okay.
I love how he keeps looking at you, Kalina. Have you ever?
You're like, are you with me? Kind of.
Do you watch football?
So the bottom of where I'm getting is the starting quarterback is going to be playing with and throwing to other starters.
Right.
There might be 3, maybe 5 snaps that the backup gets, but when he's running the offense, he's throwing to like third stringers, fourth stringers. He's not throwing to George Kittle.
Yeah.
So when people are going to their Super Bowl party or the playoff party, and the backup comes in and you get he's just off. Why? I don't understand it. Why can't he? Why can't he just throw the ball and
Those
get
aren't
him,
the
catch
guys
it?
he plays with.
Yeah, you have to have. It's timing.
Yeah.
Quarterbacks are throwing to a spot. They're not throwing to the player. They're throwing at a spot, and that player may be there. Well, that comes as a result of working with each other.
Yeah.
Now you get a new guy in there that maybe throws the ball differently. Maybe doesn't have as much velo. That's velocity, kids. Doesn't have as much velo on the ball, zip on the ball. So maybe if he's throwing it to a certain spot, it's not getting there as fast as maybe the receiver does. So it's just all timing.
Well, speaking of timing, I think we might, even though I could talk to you all day, I think we might be running out of time.
What?
And you have a lot.
Wait.
You have a lot of velo, by the way.
Wow. I feel like we're just getting going.
Well, did you have something else you wanted to say about your legacy in Marin?
I think when it's time for me to take a dirt nap, I think
Oh my God.
I think it might be here in Marin County. We haven't talked about it yet, as far as those kinds of plans. I mean, you can believe it. We haven't even whipped together a will or anything.
Okay.
We haven't even
That
done
is definitely another podcast.
That's for another. But as far as looking at my career, I just hope that when I'm done and management takes me out to pasture and it's a reenactment of the Joe Pesci and Goodfellas at the end, where he thinks he's going to be a made man. He walks into an empty room and then bam, he doesn't make it out of the room. But when that happens, I just hope that people kind of look back and appreciate what I did, the fact that I could entertain a few people, and the next one that comes up, when the torch is passed, that maybe they remember Uncle Vern at least for a year and a half. Memories are for folks. So.
Mr. Involvement is my favorite. So thank you very much for spending time with us.
Yes, thank you.
My pleasure. I just hope hey, for you listeners out there, I hope you got a little something out of it.
Mr. Involvement, you
Do
heard
I get
him
to close
here.
the show?
Yes,
Okay.
close
all
it.
right. All right. Well, what's my line again? I know we're one. What? So I'll just make it up. I'll just
Sign off.
I'll just
Any
make
way
it
you
up.
want.
All right. For Stephanie Kirby, for Kalina Cloud, this is Vern Glenn. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll talk to you next time. And this is We Are One Marin.
Woo-hoo!
Crowd goes wild.
Vern is a sports anchor and reporter at KPIX-CBS 5 here in the Bay Area. You can see him daily on the 5 and 11 o'clock news. We are nearing the end of our first season and remain so grateful for the trust and confidence each guest puts in us to listen and hear their stories. Even though Vern is used to doing most of the talking, he's no different. Thanks for sharing, man. The Marin Community Foundation generously sponsors this podcast. Our theme music is performed by a student at Enriching Lives Through Music. Elm is in San Rafael's Canal neighborhood. Finally, a reminder to support diverse local businesses and shop Marin.